No matter how you look at it, the 1970s were a lively time in American history. If you were born during this time, you know that the 70s were the time of disco and bell-bottoms. What else do you know? This time in history was full of unique battles, as well as changes in culture and new technologies. Even though a lot's been said about 1970s fashion, the unique features of 1970s homes should also be mentioned. Some of the things on this list make you miss the good old days, but others are still around. Though they may have been updated, you can still find these styles, appliances, and other treats at places like Home Depot, Sherwin-Williams, Lowe's, and more. Get a taste of the past by watching on. 8-Track Tapes, where it was sold: Radio Shack, Best Buy, Ford dealerships. Original estimated cost $30. Current estimated value $5 to $20 per lot. An 8-track tape player from Pioneer, Sony, Panasonic, GE, Akai, or another brand cost about $30 in the 1970s. People liked this way of recording on magnetic tape from the middle of the 1960s to the early 1980s. It went out of style when the CD came out, and then iPods and then smartphones made it even more irrelevant. There were a lot of 8-track players on the market because of the car business. Ford added 8-tracks to their cars in 1965, and they could be put in by the factory or a dealer. The following year, home players came out, and for decades, people loved how easy and portable these sound systems were. Pet Rocks, where it was sold: Toys R Us, Macy's, toy stores. Original cost $4. Current estimated value $60. In 1975, Pop Rocks took over America. Having a rock as a pet might seem silly, but more than 1 million of them were sold for $4 each. Gary Dahl, an ad executive who made them, became a millionaire. People from Baja California sold these smooth stones as if they were real pets. They even came in a wooden box with care directions. The trend ended during the Christmas season of 1975 after 6 months. Dahl became famous and wealthy because of the pet rock. He was so happy with his life that he almost wished he'd never made the popular toy. Wood paneling, where it was sold: Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart. Original estimated cost $2 to $8 per panel. Current estimated value $12 to $40 per panel. Wood paneling is probably one of the first 5 things people think of when they think back to the 1970s and how people decorated their homes. Now, wood paneling lowers the value of a home, and there are a lot of how-to guides on how to hide this mistake in your decor. Most paneling from this time was made of pressed fiberboard or plywood that was made to look expensive. Also, don't forget that this wood was often given a shiny finish to make it look even better. If you want to paint over wood panels, you have to sand them well first. If you don't, your paint and primer won't be able to stick. Electric fondue kits, where it was sold: Bed Bath & Beyond, Macy's, Gimbel's, Walmart. Original estimated cost $20 to $30. Current estimated value $20 to $40. Southern Living says it's time to bring back this controversial food trend. You either love fondue or you hate it. During the 1970s, this was a common thing to eat for dinner, and fondue pots were at their most famous during that time. People would put melted cheese, sweet chocolate, and chunks of unknown meat in these electric pots to cook. Even now, people like to put cheese and chocolate in their fondue. Groove History says that one reason cheese fondue became so popular was that companies that made fondue pots promoted cheese as a very healthy food that came straight from ski-loving resort Swiss Alps. Presto Hot Doggers, where it was sold: Radio Shack, Best Buy, and Walmart. Original estimated value $15 to $20. Current estimated value $25 to $31. How do you make hot dogs? How about on the grill? When water's boiling? How about in the oven? For those of you who grew up in the 1970s, your parents probably skipped all that and just shocked the hot dog. The Presto Hot Dogger was created in the early 1970s and became a huge hit right away. There were a lot of strange goods that were very famous at that time, like the Presto. Most of the time, the Presto was sold in retail shops. In just 60 seconds, it cooked anywhere from 1 to 6 hot dogs with electricity. Redditors who ate these shockwave electrode weenies said they didn't taste too different from other hot dogs that had been cooked in any other way. TV dinners, where it was sold: Kroger, Winn-Dixie, Piggly Wiggly, and Safeway. Original estimated value, 50 cents to $2. Current estimated value, $3 to $6. Most experts don't like TV dinners because they say they're unhealthy or have too much salt. But there are no doubters in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s. A lot of people ate their Swansons without thinking. It was sold in food shops in the fall of 1953. These frozen dinners sold millions of pieces right away and were a huge hit. In the 60s and 70s, they became even more famous. In the 1980s, Campbell's made a tray that could be heated in the microwave, which cut this process down to just minutes. People still make leftover dinners all the time. Farrah Fawcett posters. Where they were sold: Camelot Music, Sam Goody, record stores. Original estimated value, 50 cents to $1. Current estimated value, $20 to $30. During the 1970s, Farrah Fawcett was the cool girl. Since the start of her work in 1969, she's won 6 Golden Globes, 4 Emmys, and a lot of attention around the world. Fawcett became famous after being in the first season of the TV show Charlie's Angels. She was also in a lot of popular movies such as Logan's Run, The Cannonball Run, The Burning Bed, and many more. One of the most popular pictures of all time is the one of Farrah Fawcett in a red swimsuit. 12 million copies have been sold. The actress made a good amount of money from these posters. 40% of the money made from the famous picture went to her. Sunken living rooms. Where it was sold: construction companies, architectural firms. Original estimated cost, $600 to $3,000. Current estimated value, $5,000 to $25,000. Some designers want to bring this style back, and designers will do anything to stop it. There's been a small comeback in the trend of having living rooms that were sunk into the ground. These sunken shared spaces became popular in the 1960s and were called conversation pits. As word got out, they quickly became the best way to relax with family and friends for 20 years. To get to the living area of your home, you had to go down 2 or 3 steps. These steps helped define the area where you talked and laughed with family and friends. Egg chairs. Where it was sold: Arneo Originals, this specific chair. Original estimated cost, $943. Current estimated value, $12,400. When it first came out in 1963, the ball chair was seen as a new way to bring space-age design into your home. That's where it all began. At the Cologne Furniture Fair in 1966, it quickly became a famous and iconic piece of finished design. There were even movies and music videos with the ball chair. People who couldn't pay the high price of the ball chair could buy a lot of fakes. For many years in the 1970s, egg and ball-shaped chairs were common in homes. You can find them at almost all big furniture stores. Atari video games console. Where it was sold: Radio Shack and Best Buy. Original estimated cost, $189.95. Current estimated value, $60 to $80. The Atari video computer system changed the way people played games when it came out in 1977. Video games became very famous because of this home video game system. That year, every kid in America asked their parents for an Atari for Christmas. The Atari cost $190 when it first came out. In modern money, that's the same as $850. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Atari was the leader in video games. But as other game companies released platforms, Atari lost ground. Also, Atari's management made a bunch of bad choices about making games that brought down Atari Inc. and stopped this era. Wall phones. Where it was sold: Radio Shack and Best Buy. Estimated original cost, $900. Current estimated value, $45. There's probably going to be a wall phone or two in movies from the 70s or around that time. Do you remember these phones? They used a long wire with a mouthpiece to connect to the wall. Cell phones back then were nothing like the sleek, handy phones we use now. At the time, Motorola was one of the most well-known phone names. In the early 1970s, the company took things a step further by making the first pocket phone. After 10 years, the FCC accepted the first cell phone, the Dynatac 8000X. A lot of people liked their wall phones better because it was too big and hard to use. Sea monkeys. Where it was sold: the Sea Monkey Aquarium and Toys R Us. Original estimated cost, $1.75, postage included. Current estimated value, $8.99. Even though there were a lot of weird toys in the 1970s, sea monkeys were one of the most unusual. Sea monkeys were brine shrimp that were sold as fun pets. From the Sea Monkey Aquarium, they were sold as eggs that you could put in water. Each egg cost $1.25 plus shipping. The sea monkey would get about half an inch long over time. A lot of people liked these pets because they were small and didn't need much care. People who didn't have a dog, cat, or something bigger and more difficult were told they could have sea monkeys instead. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon